Minister, my question is specifically to ask you what engagement you've had between your department and the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration, which is particularly important in youth, with regard to the introduction of a payment equivalent to a child benefit to all children in the international protection process. And I say that conscious that this was something that was clearly set out in the white paper, which is over 2.5 years ago now, and it was also in the advisory document prior to that.
Chair, and thank you, Deputy, for the question. Applicants for international protection who are awaiting a decision on their application are offered accommodation by the International Protection Accommodation Services of the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth. Those who accept such accommodation are provided with material reception conditions, including food and health services, together with other facilities and services designed to ensure their needs are met while seeking the protection of the state. The Department of Social Protection administers the daily expenses allowance, which is paid to protection applicants who reside in accommodation provided by the International Protection Accommodation Services in order to meet personal expenses. To receive child benefit in Ireland, parents must be habitually resident in the state. The habitual residence condition is designed to provide entitlement to non-contributory benefits, including child benefit, to those who have established their connection to Ireland. Applicants for international protection do not satisfy the habitual residence condition and are therefore not eligible for child benefit. The habitual residence condition is provided for in Irish social welfare legislation and is in accordance with EU legislation and with European Court of Justice jurisprudence. The white paper on ending direct provision was published in February 2020. It sets out a structure for a two-phase approach to accommodating applicants for international protection. In Phase 1, the Department of Social Protection will continue to provide the daily expenses allowance as the income support payment to protection applicants while they reside in the Reception and Integration Centre. In Phase 2, applicants will move to accommodation in the community. A new international protection payment will be made by the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth to those protection applicants resident in the community who are still awaiting a decision on their application for protection. The Department of Children is leading the implementation of the recommendations contained in the white paper to end direct provision. My department has ongoing engagement with the Department of Children on these issues, both bilaterally and on a cross-government basis. Any potential new payment to children in the international protection process equivalent to child benefit is a matter for the Department of Children, where my department's role, if any, will be that of facilitator of any such payment. Thank you.
Deputy Connolly.
Minister, I had the opportunity to read the reply, and I have to say I'm really disappointed with it. Half the reply is telling me that you have to be a habitual resident. I know that. The whole purpose of the question was for those seeking protection, international protection. Clearly they don't have residence. And clearly they're the result of an unjust a system that was set up more than 21 years ago that was supposed to be temporary. It has been the subject of numerous reports, going back to Mahon report and the most recent one from the Ombudsman, the special report, the first time he's ever done a special report in relation to serious concerns for the welfare of children. And in my second minute, I come back into them. So it's in that context and the white paper, which promised to abolish direct provision. And the Ombudsman acknowledges the terrible pressure on the government given the amount of refugees that have come into our country in the last year. And I acknowledge that. However, to give me a reply like that, when the direct provision was supposed to be abolished and when the white paper specifically recommended a payment equivalent to the child benefit, you might direct your second reply at that.
Thanks, Deputy. Look, I understand the information you're looking for. My role here tonight is my role in the Department of Social Protection, and really our main role is administering the payment. I mean, I can tell you, in my role in the other department, the Department of Children, funding has been secured for a new child payment. Beyond that, there's not a huge amount I can give you in terms of the detail. I gave the context of the habitual residence condition because that wasn't the case in the past. It was possible to get child benefit in the past, which now means there is a need for additional supports. I think it is worth saying as well, the Department of Social Protection supports applicants for protection also through additional needs payments. And also importantly, and not everyone is aware of this, the back to school clothing and footwear allowance. My department will also support a protection applicant who takes up employment. Permission may be sought by applicants from the Department of Justice to have access to the labour market after 6 months. And importantly as well, and not everyone knows this, applicants for protection who are in employment have access to the Working Family Payment, public employment services, and may qualify for benefit schemes linked to PRSI contributions if working for a sufficient period of time.
Thanks, Minister. Deputy Connolly.
Minister, I know you're giving me the surrounding information. I don't need the surrounding information. I've read all the reports. And I asked a specific question, what engagement your department has had with the... Now you're telling me, and I appreciate that there's going to be a payment. Is that the payment as set out in the white paper? Is that what you're talking about, a new payment? And when will that come into being for them? I say this very much conscious of the Ombudsman's report. And he sets out, he hopes and he asks that this be discussed, such as his serious concerns. This is a special report following on an investigative report. And he's reiterating concerns. In the circumstances, this Ombudsman cannot be satisfied that IPAS's commitment to cease the use of commercial hotels will be met in the short to medium term. He cannot be satisfied that a robust quality assurance mechanism is in place or will be put in place for the majority of children seeking protection. And he goes on, he cannot be satisfied that sufficient regard has been had to the vulnerability of children. We're talking about children here, thousands of them within the international protection process, and only 10% of vulnerability assessments carried out. Now, it's in that context I'm asking the question about the specific recommendation that a child payment be introduced, and have you had costing in relation to that? I appreciate the work that the Department of Social Protection does. This country couldn't survive without the services given by the Department of Social... Am I over?
Yeah.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. Sorry.
Again, I suppose, being honest with you, I only have limited information. And the most key piece of information that I have in relation to the questions you're asking is that budget has been allocated. I would say as well, in terms of vulnerability and vulnerability of children, government has co-funded family support practitioners for families living in IPAS accommodation to support the pathway for integrated community-based child and family support services. These practitioners provide support to improve the quality of life for families while promoting the personal, social and educational development of children, young people and their parents. Practitioners work in partnership with TUSLA and other community-based services and agencies, IPAS and CIPSES as well. Practitioners enable parents, guardians, carers and families to sustain the safe care of their children in the home setting. The plan is that there be one of these practitioners in every TUSLA area, so I think 17 in total. Some of them are in place at the moment as well, but I think that will improve the situation on the ground as well in direct provision centres.